Imagine leaving the vibrant streets of Seoul for a life of love in the wild. This is Miso, a Korean girl who traded her bustling city life for a tribal prince. Now, as she kneels on a woven mat surrounded by tribal women, her long black hair is slowly cut away, strand by strand. How did she end up here, so far from the life she once knew? Let me tell you her story. A few months ago, Miso lived in the vibrant city of Seoul, working as a core member of KTV's production team. Ever since she could remember, her dream was to explore the mysteries hidden in nature. She eagerly joined KTV's documentary division to pursue that dream. She had no relatives, her parents had passed away when she was a child. But she had someone special, Junho, her boyfriend. He worked as a cameraman at KTV, and they had been together for 4 years, living in a small apartment in the city. One day, KTV assigned their team an extraordinary project to document the dark forest in a remote African country called Zorandia. Miso couldn't wait to share the news with Junho. She came home early that evening, her key clicking in the lock. As she stepped inside, she heard laughter coming from the bedroom. Curiosity pulled her towards the door, which was slightly ajar. When she pushed it open, her heart stopped. There they were, Junho and Sohee, Miso's best friend, lying in bed together, laughing, oblivious to her presence. Miso stood frozen, her breath caught in her throat. "What are you doing in my room?" she whispered, her voice shaking. The laughter stopped immediately. Junho and Sohee both looked at her, their faces filled with guilt. "I gave you everything," Miso choked out, "and this is how you repay me?" Tears blurred her vision as her heart shattered. "Leave. Both of you, leave," she screamed. Junho tried to speak, but Miso didn't let him. "I don't need to hear anything. Just leave," she shouted again, her anger, grief, and pain overwhelming her. That night, she cried. She cried for the betrayal, for the love she thought she had, and for the life she had lost. For days, Miso barely ate or slept. Her phone buzzed with messages from friends, but she ignored them all. Finally, she made a decision. She promised herself that she would forget the past, forget Junho, and look ahead to the future. She focused on the upcoming project in Zorandia. 6 months of preparation followed, learning the Zorandian language, studying the culture, and researching the dark forest. The day finally came for the KTV team to leave for Zorandia. The jungle was breathtaking and perilous. The towering trees formed a thick canopy, veiling the forest in mystery. Miso was mesmerized, capturing the surreal beauty with her camera. But on the 3rd day, a fierce storm hit, disrupting their journey. Determined to get a perfect shot, Miso climbed a slippery rock, her boots slipping. She lost her balance and tumbled down a steep slope, her screams swallowed by the wind. When she awoke, Miso found herself in a dimly lit hut, her leg twisted painfully. A tall tribal man with striking features stood beside her. "Where am I?" she asked weakly. He looked at her with wide eyes, surprised. "You speak our language?" he asked. Miso smiled weakly. "I learned it before coming here." "I'm Taro," he said. "I found you in the jungle and brought you here. Your leg is broken, so you'll need time to heal." Taro was the prince of the tribe, and under his care, Miso slowly began to recover. He stayed by her side, teaching her their ways. She became fluent in their language, and she began to understand their culture. As Miso spent more time with the tribe, she noticed many children were often sick. She soon realized the cause: poor hygiene practices. But she also discovered that proper hygiene was known only to the royals. The rest of the tribe, including the elders, were unaware of these habits. Determined to help, Miso tried to teach the tribe simple hygiene practices: boiling water, washing hands before meals, bathing regularly, and cleaning cooking utensils. At first, the villagers laughed at her, dismissing her efforts. "This is our tradition," they said. "You can't change us." The elders were resistant. "We can't follow the royal customs." But Taro stood by her side. Despite the royal family's cold reception, many villagers came to appreciate her teachings. Among the royals was Princess Akira, Taro's fiancée and the daughter of the king's sister. Akira was beautiful, commanding, and powerful, but she was not pleased with the closeness between Miso and Taro. She pretended to support Miso's mission publicly but secretly began to stir trouble behind the scenes, accusing Miso of threatening their traditions. "She's trying to destroy everything," Akira's supporters whispered. However, many villagers who had seen their children grow healthier defended Miso. They respected her efforts. Over time, Taro and Miso grew even closer, and one day, deep in the jungle, far from the village, Taro confessed his feelings. "Miso, I love you. I can't imagine my life without you," he said, his voice full of raw emotion. Miso's heart skipped a beat. "Taro, you make me feel alive again. I love you too." They shared a passionate kiss, their bond sealing. Unbeknownst to them, Akira's servant had been spying and reported their intimate moment to Akira. Furious, Akira went to the tribal council, demanding Miso's expulsion. Miso faced harsh accusations when the council summoned her. They decreed that she must leave the village now that she was fully recovered. Taro stood by her side, his voice filled with resolve. "I love Miso. I want to marry her. Please, let her stay." The room was stunned. The king, his voice sharp, replied, "You are the prince. You can't marry an outsider. You are promised to Princess Akira." "I've never loved Akira," Taro declared firmly. "She is like a sister to me. My heart belongs to Miso. If she leaves, I will leave with her," the king's voice thundered. "Will you abandon your people for this outsider?" Miso knelt before the king, tears streaming down her face. "Please," she whispered. "Let me stay. I love Taro. I'll do anything to prove my love." The king hesitated. After speaking with the elders, he relented. "You may stay, but only if you undergo our sacred rituals. You must leave your past behind and become one of us." Miso agreed without hesitation. "I'll do it." Taro protested, but Miso was resolute. The rituals began. The tribal women shaved Miso's head, marking her rebirth, and dressed her in traditional tribal attire. She was given the name Moya. After the ceremonies, she married Taro in a grand celebration, becoming a true member of the tribe. But Akira wasn't done. On Moya and Taro's wedding night, she poisoned Moya's drink, a slow-acting toxin that could only be cured by a rare jungle plant. Days later, Moya grew gravely ill. Taro, desperate, ventured into the jungle, searching for the plant. He didn't stop, not for a second, until he found it. He saved her life once again. As Moya recovered, she continued her mission to help the tribe. She introduced sanitary practices for women, broke taboos surrounding menstruation, and educated young girls. Over time, the tribe's health improved, and Moya earned the respect of the people. Then, Moya became pregnant. When Akira learned this, her jealousy turned to rage. "I will kill her one day," she vowed. 9 months later, Moya gave birth to a baby boy with fair skin and almond-shaped eyes, just like hers. Akira saw an opportunity to stir trouble. "This white baby is a punishment from the gods," she cried. "It's proof that they don't belong here." The rumor spread like wildfire. A faction of the tribe demanded that Moya and her child be expelled and insisted that Taro should marry Akira. Taro confronted the council, his voice full of emotion. "This baby is my son. How can you call him a curse? He has the royal blood." The council was divided. Some stood with Taro, but many insisted the child's unusual appearance was a sign of divine disapproval. The king, under pressure from the council, told Taro, "You must marry Akira and rid yourself of Moya and her cursed child." Taro refused. "No. If my wife and son are banished, I will leave with them." He left the palace without looking back at the king. In the hours that followed, Taro and Moya prepared to leave. The villagers heard the news, and a crowd gathered outside the palace, calling for Moya to stay. Their voices grew louder, drowning out the opposition. Moya is our true princess. We don't need anyone else. Akira could no longer control her fury. She stormed into the palace, screaming at the crowd. "You fools," she shouted. "You want that outsider? I poisoned her, but she didn't die. I wanted to kill her." Her confession sent shockwaves through the crowd. The king, filled with rage, immediately banished Akira from the tribe. The tribal council had no choice but to acknowledge the truth. The king, filled with regret, publicly apologized to Moya and her son. Soon after, the king declared Taro as the new king, and Moya became his queen. The entire tribe celebrated, rejoicing in their new rulers. "Moya, our beloved queen," they cheered. Under Moya and Taro's wise and compassionate rule, the tribe flourished. They embraced both tradition and progress, ensuring health, unity, and prosperity for all. Moya, who once lived in the city, had truly found her home. She proved that love, courage, and compassion could bridge any gap. It's not where you come from that defines you, but the heart you carry. Thank you for listening to this story. Until next time, take care.